And welcome back to Face the Nation. The subject is still Syria. Michigan Republican Congressman Justin Amash is opposed to military strikes. Maryland Democrat Elijah Cummings is still to be convinced, at the least, I should say. Gentlemen, thank you very much for bringing your perspectives to us this morning. Congressman Amash, you have been one of the more vocal opponents from the beginning of any action. Is there anything that the administration or the president could say on Tuesday night that would cause you to say, well, maybe I better go ahead and support him and vote to give him the Congress to give him the authority to go ahead?
It's highly doubtful. I've been to the briefings. I spent a lot of time with my constituents, and there's overwhelming disapproval for this war. I can't think of a reason right now, based on the objectives that the administration has laid out, based on the strategy they've laid out, I can't come up with a reason right now why the United States should support this action. You
said at one point anybody who votes for this might as well just clean out their office. Well, they were going to be defeated the next time around. But I would ask you this. Are there things that you would be willing to put the fact that you're elected on the line and vote against what your constituents want?
Oh, absolutely. But in this case, we're talking about war. And I've spent a lot of time in my district. When we found out the president was going to go to Congress, as he should do, we decided to hold a series of town halls throughout the district, 11 meetings in 2 days. I went around, met with my constituents, and what I saw was astonishing. Not just disapproval of the war, overwhelming disapproval from Republicans, from Democrats. And when you're dealing with an issue like war, you must take into consideration what the public thinks. You're asking people to possibly send their loved ones into harm's way, and you really have to take that very seriously.
Well, I would point out the president said they will not be sending troops in. But Congressman Cummings, let me ask you, are you finding that about the same deal in your district,
no doubt
Baltimore?
No doubt about it, Bob. And keep in mind, my district voted 77% for the president. I think the president has work to do. I think he can possibly get the votes, but he's got to come before the Congress and the nation. By the way, one of the things that I said to the president was, look, when you ask the Congress to be involved, you're also asking about our constituents. And so he's got to show, first of all, that this is in our core national security interests. He's got to, and why it is. He's got to show that if we don't completely degrade a side's capability, how do we make sure we still deter him from using these chemical weapons? And then he's got to show us that this will not end up in a scenario where we find ourselves in deeper involvement in a civil war over there in Syria. These are difficult issues. He's got to, but keep in mind too, Bob, I do believe that this president is being held to a higher standard with regard to going into using force in another nation, and the reason being Iraq. Most of my constituents tell me, look, we just spent $1 trillion in Iraq. Our young people died and were injured, and they just don't want to see that again. And then they say, for what?
Let me just ask you what I asked Congressman Amash. Can you see any scenario under which you would go ahead and support the president?
It's possible. I think we're going to have this. There are members of the House that are working on a much more limited resolution than the one that is being considered in the Senate. I'm going to take a look at that. I want to support the president. I believe in him. And I believe that if the president, being a president that came in and tested and campaigned on taking us out of war, says that, we need to do this, I want to make sure I understand what he is seeing. And keep in mind, Bob, one of our problems is that we get information in these classified briefings, and we've been in the same briefings, where we can't even share the information with our constituents.
Let me ask you, Congressman Amash, you heard Dennis McDonough say that everybody who's seen this evidence, nobody rebuts it. Would you agree with that?
I think nobody rebuts the evidence we've been presented at the briefings, but I would also say that the evidence is not as strong as the public statements that the president and his administration have been making. And I've actually urged the administration in the most recent briefing, for example, to be more forward with the public about what the situation actually is. I think that there are some things that are being embellished in the public statements, and I would ask the administration to be more forward with the public about this, because we all need to have the information. I would also add that the briefings haven't given me comfort. The briefings have actually made me more skeptical about the situation.
Well, let me ask both of you this, and because to me this is the bottom line. What do you think the fallout will be? What will the impact be? The president has drawn a red line, and then the United States is not able to deliver. What does that do to the credibility of the United States?
I think it hurts to some degree, but at the same time, the question is when we go in and we find ourselves mired in a civil war, what does that do? And I think that's the problem, Bob.
All right. We have a constitutional republic. I think we're at our strongest when the representatives of the people actually represent the people. And I think it sends a message to the rest of the world that we follow the rule of law.
All right. Well, I want to thank both of you for coming this morning and adding your perspective. We'll be back in 1 minute with our panel of analysts, and we got a bunch of them.